Hey everyone, welcome to this daily Sidereal Astrology forecast. This is for April 4th of 2016. I'm Athen, and this is for Sidereal. If you are new to the channel, be sure to check out the link because the signs are different. All right, so today we're in the Balsamic phase of the lunar cycle, which is a reflective time, at least a good time to sort of pause for a second. We've had a lot of transformation occur because this last lunar cycle was an eclipse cycle, so last month was very transformative. And so now it's a good time to reflect on these things. What has changed in our life? And maybe even feel a sense of freshness, because the new moon is going to be on Thursday. And so as we approach Thursday, there's this sense of new beginnings around the corner. But before we go, full speed into the new beginnings, we do, of course, have to take some time to maybe rest, get that meditative time out, and again, perhaps reflect on this past lunar cycle. Maybe even ask ourselves, what about this past 30 days do we want to take with us, right, into the new lunar cycle? Which elements of it are transformed or let go of? Even too, which is a good time to do that sort of releasing work, this acceptance work, and allowing things to go during this balsamic phase. And that creates the space, right? Creates the space for the new beginnings, which are around the corner. So today the moon's in Aquarius, which is very important because this is one of the energies very strongly associated with the last eclipse. The last eclipse was right on the cusp between Aquarius and Pisces. So here, perhaps reflecting on today, what have we learned about being our true self? What have we learned about individuality? And how important it is to shape our life to be a reflection of who we truly are, right? And really challenge the old modes of thinking that maybe we've had that have limited us and that have limited us from being our true self, which of course is very different, very unorthodox, and very unique in that sense. So some things to tap into today with the moon in Aquarius, but I think with this lowering energy time, perhaps more in that reflective, meditative, and internalized sort of way. Now, in terms of the Pisces energy, which was again very important in this last lunar eclipse, the sun's still here. Okay, so there's a lot of intuition still very strong. We can continue to gain energy, in fact, by tapping into that intuition, having more acceptance, more faith and trust along the life journey, and really being very present, as present as we can. And it's that presence that gives us that prana, gives us that energy right now, which is the sun. So that's the sun and the moon in the chart today. There isn't any major aspects going exact here. Tomorrow, the sun will be trining up to Saturn. So as the day unfolds, this will probably be the dominant sort of energy, along with this, again, more internalized time. So in terms of this, Saturn is that patience and persistence, and the sun is our self-expression and our outward identity in many ways. So this is all about having perhaps this new type of willingness to take things slow, willingness to assume responsibilities, take the long road, the patient road, the persistent road, right? So that can be very strong, very beneficial, in fact, as we approach tomorrow. Now, with the sun in Pisces, of course, this could be, again, in a more behind-the-scenes sort of way of expressing ourselves. But with Saturn in Ophiuchus, what's really supporting the self-expression today, not only can it be grounded, but it can also be deep. With Saturn in Ophiuchus, this is all about what's deep in life, and that we've been building things in our life that are deep and meaningful and intimate with ourselves primarily, and then naturally externally. So it's through that intimacy with self, through that deep connection and a willingness to see the truth, that can be very supportive to our self-expression, very supportive to our identity as we approach tomorrow. Now, along with that, the moon is going to be forming a couple aspects, and this is going to be particularly squaring up to Mars, and then as the evening unfolds, conjoining up to Neptune. All right, so in terms of the square up to Mars, this is also very direct when it comes to what is true. Mars in Scorpio has been showing us that we're very motivated by the truth, and seeing things for how they really are. And so with the square, it's important that we bring extra attention to this today, right? There can be some intense feelings. There can be feeling like we really want things, we really want to achieve or really assert ourselves. And that can be great, but the square is suggesting the importance of observation, balance, and taking a disciplined approach to that, right? In other words, perhaps willing ourselves to take some healthy action, all right, to get the body moving, to get our goals moving. Things like that might be important, can help channel that energy, right? And in terms of the intense feelings, again, seeing the truth within self, seeing how we truly feel, accepting that. And it might be very strongly identified, might be very strongly ego identified with Mars. And so observing the self, observing the ego will allow the more accepting, compassionate, and again, spiritually sensitive energy to come forward, which is this part of the chart. Again, very watery, just like that Pisces. But here it's about accepting the truth, right? And this, I think, is particularly with today, accepting the truth about what our own drives might be saying about us, what our own motivations might be saying, and again, perhaps that ego. So it's all healthy when done in a balanced way. And again, I think taking action, whether it's physically or through setting goals, can be a good way of channeling this intense, active sort of energy, especially with the emotions, which is that moon. And that's what it really comes down to, with the moon in Aquarius. It's all about here being our true self, but in a way that's real, in a way that's raw, which does take some of that integration. Now, in terms of the conjunction up to Neptune, particularly in the evening, this can be very sensitive, again, very intuitive. And this has been a Neptune in Aquarius, which has been showing us that it's through acceptance of ourselves we've been able to access this true self, this unorthodoxy, right? But it comes from unconditionality. It comes from being sensitive to it. It comes from accessing the spiritual side of ourselves, right? The true spiritual self. And so I think it's an excellent evening for getting sensitive, again, in this balsamic phase, maybe doing some of that meditative stuff, the reflection, getting the rest, and all of that is helping us access, again, this strong awareness of that true self, of individuality. So that's the strong energy. I feel like in this balsamic phase, as we approach the new moon on Thursday, it's a good time to reflect, see where there might be some new beginnings, but also see what can be released, what can be meditated upon, what can be observed right now to create that space for what is going to be new beginnings relating to having more peace in our life of Pisces. All right, and today in particular, perhaps a bit of that discipline, that long road, that patient, persistent type of enjoyment or activity or creation that can be very supportive today. All right, so I hope you guys have an excellent one. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you all tomorrow.